Hello and welcome to Talkin' Tabletop. We are going to be talking about our top 5 strategy games this week. Joining me as always,
I'm Danny.
And of course you know me as Trevor, resident game gurus, enthusiasts, list
Nerds.
makers.
Yeah, whatever. The usual.
Yeah. So, strategy games, for those who don't know, are games that are going to involve high amounts of strategy. How apropos a name.
And I also defined it a little bit as less luck as well.
Yeah.
That's normally the counterbalance.
It's
the more strategy, the less luck you have.
Yeah.
And how you plan your movements.
Absolutely. So generally with strategy games, they're almost never going to use dice because that's a very luck-heavy thing, more often than not. However, one of my games does use dice, but that's because you can mitigate the roll of dice easily.
Right.
So, starting with number 5, I'll kick it off with a game by Days of Wonder. This is actually a brand new one, and it is one of the only times I've put a game on my list that I have not yet played.
You can't do that.
But I have researched heavily.
Okay.
And
you've
watching,
played it in your mind.
Yes.
And, okay.
By seeing how it was played, I was just like, oh, this looks amazing, and that is Yamatai.
Okay.
Bruno Cathala.
Yep.
Game. Of course, the designer for 5 Tribes. He's designed a number of games that I really enjoy. But yeah, the artwork on it is beautiful, and you've got these little ships that are resources. So it's kind of a resource management, worker placement. You're building buildings, getting different points and things like that. But it's so cool. It looks amazing. So
I'd be curious to see how it stays on your list or where it ends up doing after a few playthroughs.
Yeah.
It either goes
and
up
that's
or
the
down.
only reason why it's at number 5 is just because I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
So, Yamatai.
So he's only played 4
I've
strategy
played it.
games ever. Alright, so my number 5 is, speaking of big box games, just about one of the most component-heavy games, Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
That is a great strategy game. Just pick up and
Gale
deliver.
Force 9?
Gale Force 9. I don't know the designer.
I don't either.
Yeah, neither
but it's
do I.
based off of the TV show.
Based off of the TV show.
Yeah.
This is one of the great occurrences where a board game got me into the show first.
Yep.
That's only happened twice, and this is one of them.
Star Trek Panic was the other.
Star Trek Panic got me into Star Trek. That was the other one. And so Firefly, I really love how it works. It's really flavorful, where you go to the planets, you pick up the items, you're working jobs, and you're, depending on whether they're legal or illegal jobs, you might lose morale and the people might get distressed on the ship, and you can give them shore leave and let them have fun and feel better, but they might actually, you could actually buy people from other people's ships. I love that fact. That's amazing.
Well, you're hiring them.
Well, you're
not buying and selling people.
Well, let's be honest. They're immorally distressed. You're buying people, but you're hiring these workers.
It's not 5 Tribes, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, inside board gamer joke.
And then it's just a really fun game. I like the game so much I ended up liking the show. So Firefly. That's my number 5.
Very nice. All right. So my number 4 is going to be a game by Antoine Bauza, and I want to say it's Bombix, I think is the printer, which is essentially it's
I already know
Asmodee now. Takeoko, the game in which you are growing a bamboo garden. You have a panda moving around eating bamboo and a gardener growing more bamboo. Very, very cool strategy game. I had put it as like a very simple, light strategy. It's the strategy game you show to people who aren't really strategy gamers.
Yeah.
But then with the addition of the expansion, the Chibi's expansion, it took it to a whole new depth of strategy and mechanics, and now it's actually this really eloquent, deep strategy game with the addition of Mrs. Panda, some new tiles, panda babies, and things like that, where now you have so many more options open to you. And plus you're actually like placing little bamboo pieces onto bases to grow bamboo on the table. So by the time you're done, you've got like this bamboo garden grown. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
So, Takeoko.
Well, it does one of those neat things where you're not just trying to get victory points, you're trying to get victory conditions that gets you victory points,
Yes.
which is different than most. Like, there's very different ways to score
And
points.
there's nothing more satisfying than placing that tile that you can openly see someone is going for a formation and you just screw it up royally by placing one tile in their formation that throws that whole thing off. They've been building to it for like 4 turns, and they're just like, and I'll plop a pink down here. Your move.
So I think I'm going to try and relate every game of yours to mine. So speaking of hexagonal tile placement, Ingenious, by I believe Reiner Knizia, printed by Fantasy Flight. And it's one of their few abstract games where you have 2 hexes that are put together and they have 6 different symbols that are colored. Thankfully, since I'm colorblind, they are both colored and symboled. And all you're trying to do, once you place down a tile, you take each of the colors and you measure how many of the same color it touches in every one of the 5 other directions. You count all those, and that's how many points you have. You're trying to get a lot of points for a lot of different colors, because what makes the best part about it is your very lowest scoring color is your final score. So you want everything to score points. So if you get 18 points on one of the colors, like let's say red, then you say Ingenious and you take another turn. But at the same time, if I end up with 20 on everything else, or 18 points on everything, but 2 points on blue, 2 is my final score.
Wow.
So if you get everything above that, you win. Yeah. So you have to play that balance. I love it. It's amazing.
Interesting.
And I love abstracts, so that's why.
Very cool.
Number 3.
All right. So number 3 for me is a game by Cheap Ass Games. It just recently celebrated its 19.5th anniversary, which I guess it's been almost 20 years now, because I think it's been more than 6 months since the game's been out.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been about a year since it came out, I think.
Yeah, so it's 20 and a half.
Yeah, 20 and a half. Kill Dr. Lucky by James Ernest. Specifically, the new edition of it, the artwork is amazing. If you really like games like Clue, this puts a whole new slant on it where you don't actually have to try to deduce like what cards other people have. No, this is, I am trying to kill Dr. Lucky. We are all trying to kill Dr. Lucky, each in our own way, but you have to make sure and time it out so that no one can see you do it, because you don't want to be implicated in a murder. You're trying to get away with it. Yeah. So it's really, really cool. Dr. Lucky will move sequentially throughout the house, and you are trying to make attempts on his life, and then other people are playing cards to try and foil you by playing their luck cards. But it does this really cool, like, forcing other players to discard, where like I could pass in trying to foil, say, Danny's murder attempt.
Because it only goes around once.
Yeah, it only goes around once. And I think that the other players have enough cards to stop him. If I'm wrong, and let's say I had more than enough to foil him, but I pass, and turns out no one else has luck, it gets around to the player making the attempt, and they win the game.
And it was because of
So it's that I have to be able to, like, do I think they have enough? Can I force them to discard? Or do I think that it's getting low enough that no one can stop him, so I have to play something? Yeah. So, Kill Dr. Lucky.
And that's it, the setting is in his mansion, right?
Yes, Kill Dr. Lucky's mansion. It's actually a real bed and breakfast. I want to say it's the old Consulate Inn, I believe, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. So
speaking of fancy hotels, my number 3 is Aquire, made in 1965 by Sid Saxon, originally by 3M Games, now it's Avalon Hill, and they actually finally made a really good version of it. Yeah, I know, that was a stretch. Finally a really good version of it, where they have 3D tower pieces and good pieces. It used to be like cardboard, and it was awful. But Aquire, it's one of the best stock market games, because you are investing in these hotels. And you're basically playing, like, in a way, Scrabble. You draw a tile, and that gives you a coordinate to where you want to put it.
Yeah.
And so it creates a visual aspect to when companies merge. When 2 companies that are claimed as the companies merge together, that means that their tiles are connecting.
Yeah.
Then it all becomes one company. The bigger company engulfs the other one.
Yeah. And whichever one's larger.
Yep. And then you can buy out, and then you could immediately buy more stock.
Asmodee the board game.
Asmodee the board. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 3. I'm a huge Sid Saxon fan, and that's why. So, Aquire.
Please don't buy out our channel and shut us down, Asmodee. We love you. So, Aquire.
Speaking of Asmodee.
Speaking of Asmodee, Another game by Days of Wonder,
Yes,
which is
it is
owned by
Asmodee.
parent company Asmodee. This is a game by, I want to say it's another Bruno Cathala. No, it's Philippe Cairt's Small World.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So really great territory control game, but it fixes all of the problems that Risk had. So you still get to control territories, but now you have a limited number of units depending on the race and special power combination that you have. And when you start your turn, you start making your conquests. Well, eventually you're going to spread your forces out thin enough that you go into decline. That civilization begins to go downwards, and on your next turn you will get to select a new race and come through and take over new territories. With the addition of a round timer, it fixes the problem that Risk had, where Risk can last you forever.
Yep.
And because it's a dice roll, you might just have really poor dice rolls and they have great defense rolls, and you're never able to get what you need. This is a simple mechanic of force. It's, I have more military than you, so I win. No dice needed. So, even though there is a die. But that's beside the point. So, Small World, lots of great expansions. They added blank rolls and special powers, so you can create some of your own, like winged unicorns.
I think almost all of yours have dice in it. Takeoko has a die.
Takeoko does have a die. Yamatai does not, and Kill Dr. Lucky do not.
Okay. No, it doesn't? I thought it did.
Kill Dr. Lucky does not. It's just cards and pawns.
Is there a desert space in the small board?
There is
Speaking
fields.
of desert,
Yeah.
but speaking of modular board,
Hey,
because
Small World.
yeah, it's Small World. Speaking of Forbidden Desert by GameRight, not owned by Asmodee so far.
Yet.
It's a fully cooperative game made by Matt Leacock, GameRight Games. This is the sequel to Forbidden Island, where you are stuck in a desert, finding parts of a ship, do XY coordinates by excavating the different parts. When you find all the pieces of ship, you have to get out of the desert and hopefully survive. Sounds easy. Really hard game, but it's satisfying because when you do beat it, or even when you lose, you don't feel like you lost because the game was too hard. A lot of co-op games that are difficult, you feel like, oh, well, that was just ruthless, it was destroying me. This, you feel like, how did we do this wrong?
Not like Ghost Stories.
Yeah, like, not like Ghost Stories, that's relentless. But Forbidden Desert, you're like, what did we do wrong?
Yeah.
What can we fix next time? And then
our strategy was wrong. It wasn't the game was unbalanced.
Yep.
However, if you do play it with 5 players, I think that's really, it is the game is unbalanced. Because you've got too many people and you just aren't able to keep ahead of the game enough.
Right.
So I think really the sweet spot on that is 3.
I like 3. I played 4.
To 4, but you don't want to go over 4.
Yeah.
But yeah. Good game.
So
Comes in a tin, which is the only downside, because tin games.
I like them,
stop
but you can't.
putting games in tins. They don't sit well on a shelf. You're screwing with my OCD. Stop it.
I just buy rubber bands. Go for it.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Speaking of deserts, and dying in them, sometimes when you die in a desert, you are reborn like a phoenix. My number 1 is Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn by Plaid Hat Games, which is now owned by Asmodee. So this is a great combat card game. It does use dice as your mana, but basically if you are familiar with other games in which you pre-build a deck and it's you versus another guy, Magic the Gathering, this takes all of the problems that Magic had and improves them. And so it's all of the things you like about those collectible card games, but this is a living card game, so there are no blind packs. The dice, you can easily take a side action to meditate and change the die to any face you need so that you will never not be able to play a card you want. And then the other part is that you get to pick your first 5 cards. So you pick your opening hand, so your deck strategy will always fire the way you want it to. It's a really good one. Isaac Vega designed it, art by Fernanda Suarez, who did Dead of Winter, as well as Isaac Vega as the designer. It's a really amazing game. And had I known about it when we did our top 20 list, this one would have been definitely probably top 3. So, Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn.
There's a lot of math in that game. Speaking of math, This is the worst stretch. I'm sorry. This game was made by a mathematician. I don't know his name, but it is from a company called Gigamic. It's called Quarto. You have a 4x4 grid, and you have 16 individual. Don't look at me like that. You have 16 individual pieces. Each one shares trait, either light or dark, tall or short, square or circle, or hollow or solid. And all you're trying to do is you're trying to get 4 in a row, or you're trying to get a 2x2 grid if you're playing the advanced rules. And it's really simple, and it's of any category. So if I get 4 light pieces in a row, or 4 hollow pieces, or 4 short pieces, any of those categories will give you the win. But the trick is, you have to hand the piece to your opponent, and you pick their next move. So you have to give them that perfect situation where you hand them a piece where they can't win, and they have to give you a piece where you will. And it always is a nail biter every time. I'm not going to tote it too much. I think this is in my top 20.
I think so.
Pretty sure, yeah, because this is an amazing game. Quarto by Gigamic.
If you like the GIF series, you'd probably like Quarto.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah.
Any of like the wooden abstracts that are just really dense. Yeah. I wish
On sale now at your local Zia Comics. So yeah, that was our top 5 strategy games. Join us next week when we're going to talk about something else.
Yeah, next week.